And welcome once again to GTV Breakfast. This is the headline segment. I'm Thelma Taki. Follow my handles at I am Thelma Taki across social media. Follow GTV Ghana everywhere. Be a part of that 1 million people who we will have along the journey with us by December of 2023, so we can all build GBC together. TV license fee, the short code *447*333#. Do endeavor to pay 36 Ghana cedis a year for one television set per household, or 60 Ghana cedis per year for 2 or more television sets per household. And we treat you all to join the train. On the headline segment this morning, Natra Niokwe communications expert has joined me, and she'll be joined by her other sister, Akusia Hansen, who will be here very shortly. Now, thank you for making the time once again. Lady in red.
Yeah. You see. So I didn't choose this. My niece actually chose this and said, Auntie, I have to wear this today. I didn't want to wear red.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's Friday, dear. So I say,
so Friday is the best day to wear red.
Oh, really? Oh, then Theo, you made a very good choice. Theodora, thank you so much. Okay.
My aunt said, Aqua weather now, you look at the weather before you dress.
Okay.
So if the weather is too hot, you don't wear red.
Oh, but this kind of
estimation. So if the weather is a bit, calm, then
thank you.
Then red is bright and it makes you feel warm.
Okay, so, thank you so much.
Madam Elizabeth Amatefio, Auntie Lizzie, good morning, Lebine Malam. So good shouts there. I've always abided by that rule. But hey, let's see what the newspapers are saying, and we'll find that out in a little while. The Daily Graphic, talking about this matter that has dominated conversations throughout the week today, the Adisadel College viral video. The Education Ministry has reversed the decision on the Adisadel students. So talking about the boy who was identified as a victim in the video being asked to go to school in order to finish writing his exam. Girl Graphic pledged to promote national interest, and there was a devastating situation yesterday at Tema. Controversy over 2 fishers' death at sea. Some fishermen had gone on sea to perform some rites and rituals ahead of Homowo. Unfortunately, there was an accident and 2 of them lost their lives. Photos of some devastated family members accompanying that story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Speaker clears air on We Law. Speaker Bagwin having to clarify the law that allowed for the use of cannabis for industrial and medicinal purposes, saying that it's not for recreational use. So people should not confuse the intent of the law to mean that it is permissible to use cannabis in a recreational capacity. Speaker Babin speaking, they will get into some details. NLA engaging Finance Ministry GRA over 10% lotto tax. Samir Uku there talking about how the tax will make it unattractive for that side of operations of the NLA. So operators engaging in those discussions with Samir Uku. 9.24 million HIV persons not on treatment due to stigma. So the health system is very concerned that all these persons who should be on antiretroviral therapies are not getting it because they are stigmatized, or they are afraid of stigmatization when they do show their faces at these facilities to ask for those life-saving medication. Akosia Menu promises development, more jobs for Adentan. The NPP, a candidate asking for or sharing her vision with the people of Adentan constituency, hoping to get the nod in the next election. Access Bank pledges support for Ghana's pharmaceutical industry. Tracking devices fixed on 68 excavators. Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu Jinapo speaking in Parliament today concerning the pilot phase of electronic monitoring for excavators. So earth-moving equipment within the mining space being talked about there. Alan for President campaign postpones planned Ashanti regional derbys. A lot happening in the NPP space when it comes to the elections. We've also been told that the party will be opening the platform for proxy nomination of proxy voters very, very shortly. All those stories in the papers today. So the Finder giving us those you see on your screen now. Back in the studio now is here as we do every day, I'll give you the opportunity to speak your mind this morning. What's on your mind? What's your thoughts for today?
Well, so this morning I'm happy. I'm happy with the news of history made in the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I mean, so for those who know me, they know that once I was SRC Secretary of UCC, and so there's a family matter, SRC, issues, yes. And so I'm very happy for Yvonne. Yvonne, we wish you well, and all the things that you have promised the students of KNUST, we are sure that you deliver. And then Thelma, talking about the weather, I don't know the state of the Apiate housing construction yet, but the current weather, I'm sure that by now, maybe, I don't know the state, so I'm just asking if some GBC journalists can get us update on that. Now, the weather is not too friendly, like you have admitted, and so that let's see what's up with the residents of Apiate. That aside, so it's being a packed week, I mean, from court to, not myself, I mean, in the news. Yeah. And so I don't know which one you'd want me to actually rant about. My rants are just the Apiate housing, and then to wish Yvonne well. That aside, we can go into the issue so that we briefly discuss.
So this week, we saw the disturbing video from Adisado College, and the calls for punishments against, tampering justice with mercy, and let's not throw the baby out with the bath water. Let me pick your thoughts on that initially, and then I'll show you another video which has also recently just come to light, and this time concerning a teacher behaving in an inappropriate manner towards a student. So at the Adisado College and everything that has come up since then, the Ghana Education Service, and it's in the Daily Graphic newspaper, page 16, has asked that the victim, who was also initially suspended due to the investigations that were underway, the Ministry of Education has suggested that he should be allowed to go back to school so that they can finish their exams. And we understand also from the report in the Daily Graphic that the suspected culprit is expected to be brought before a judge, a district court in Cape Coast today, following his arrest and the subsequent bail granted him. So it follows the order by the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame for the third-year student to be investigated for possible prosecution. And it's State Attorney Vincent Nyineku who is saying that the 17-year-old will be treated as a juvenile. So there's a separate set of laws when it comes to dealing with minors, and there's a separate one for adults as well. Because minors, really, the idea is to give them the opportunity to reform and come back into active, productive society, so their whole lives are not truncated by perhaps some mistakes that they unwittingly took. So GS is saying the guy who was assaulted should come back to the classroom. So they reversed the ministry, the suspension handed by the school to Kevin Ofori, the victim, pending conclusive investigations. The ministry has ordered that Ofori, who has since received medical examination and treatment at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, should be allowed to stay in school and write the West Africa Senior Secondary School examination, WASSCE. So,
Thelma, when I saw the video, I was telling a colleague that, is this wrestling? I mean, so for those who enjoy wrestling, is it like they wanted to stage a wrestling and it ended here? But even if you had wanted to, is that the extent to which you should have gone? And what shocked me was that I thought it was a senior boy and then a junior boy, but I'm hearing that they are both in final year. And that even makes it more worrying. So Thelma, you see, let me say that this is anti-human. I doubt it's over a SIM. What is a SIM card or a phone? What is actually the content? If it's my phone, why are you fighting with me over it? If it's your phone, why am I fighting with you over it? So I was like, but if it's a phone, then it should belong to one person. Unless, of course, the phone belonged to, a first-year student. And then the third-year student want to say that I'm confiscating it. And then on that ground, they want to, exchange some blows here. And while I was watching, I was like, thank you, technology. See, Thelma, but for technology, we wouldn't have seen some of these things. And the attention it is receiving from the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education, the attention to receive from the court, even the reformation processes that these two people will go through, but for technology, but for the fact that it went viral, would we have seen it? Would we have received this level of attention? Now, you see, Thelma, also, I think that we've been receptive to some mild form. Bullying is bullying, but let me qualify it by saying that we've been receptive in secondary school to some forms of bullying. I remember having to be suspended because I once was assistant girls prefect of Nungwa Secondary School, and I was suspended for having, let me use the word, supervised the bullying of some first year student. I was in my cubicle sleeping or doing whatever I was doing. Then the next day, house mistress calls me and said that, did you hear that some of the first years were crying? I said, I didn't hear. Did they come to us? I was like, nobody came to me. And then now she who was in the dormitory with us was telling me things that have happened. It wasn't beating. The girls were just made to dance and to dress funny. I'm sure some of the final years took it to the extreme. I was suspended. The senior girls prefect, Henrietta Brock, good morning, was also suspended, you know. And so what I'm saying in effect is that we have actually been receptive to some of these mild forms of bullying, and then it is actually getting out of hand. But even in boys' schools, it is more, I always say that these youth are hyper, so we shouldn't bait them to be even more hyper. One, the use of even the mobile phone in the school is another matter. I'm thinking that maybe phone booths or 1 or 2 phones at designated locations.
The phone booths still work.
No, but I'm not sure they do. But even, I think the other time a journalist was saying that there's one around somewhere.
But does it work? It's fine if the phone booth is there, but does it work? But there's a few dotted around some places, but do they work? And this was in the
because at the time we're using the
those
card.
of you who never saw phone booths in secondary schools, you know, we've seen it. I think the 80s babies have seen it or no internet.
I know,
yes,
right? I know.
And now
so what I'm saying is that even the issue of the phone, you know, you were not fighting if you were textbooks to learn. You were fighting over phone. And another matter of concern, the onlookers. They were not just looking on, they were happy, they were recording, and you could hear them giggle and wiggle and encourage the act. Thelma, if all these onlookers, well, I've heard in the statement from the Ghana Education Service that all of them would be brought before the law. And so for me, I'm happy. Thelma, what is of concern to me right now is how the victim, but you know what, in this country, this we've seen that you could be a victim and then later not be a victim. It could be that this victim we see even started the fight. It could be, but at the end of the day has become a victim. And so what I'm saying in effect is that, you see, don't even as students, don't try, you know, don't try to play with fights. You think that, well, so I mean, we are playing. We are just trying to see how. And once I heard a story that 2 students of a secondary school actually put to bed and say that you can't fight me. I'm stronger than you are. I have well-built muscles than you are. So after school, let us fight and see who is who. And so some of these things are just born out of, you know, sometimes youthful exuberance, if that is the word. So they just want to try and say that. I mean, when I had a fight with Thelma, I mean, I was stronger.
Why would you do that? When I was in school,
that's
and
what I'm
this is from basic school, if there was any hint of fighting or because in our time there was caning in schools, it's not like now that there's an actual. If the teacher brings the cane out, before the cane even lands, I'm in tears already. So why would you willingly participate in a fight? So I'm thinking that something must have triggered what happened.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that something might have triggered, and we are being told is a SIM card. But whose SIM card? What's the content of the SIM card? What at all? Is it like a contact? Is it what exactly? Is it a text message? What exactly? But for me, Thelma, what I'm happy about is the fact that I was saying it the other time when those girls I've forgotten the name of the secondary school, used unprintable words at the president. We said that it shouldn't be used to, you know, terminate their lives, you know, to make nothing out of them. At least GS has given us the assurance that, see, we would make sure, I mean, the exams are starting next month, and so we would make sure that all of them sit for the exam. The victim in this issue would sit with the school, whilst the accused would sit here at the WAEC office with parental supervision. So what I'm happy about is the fact that we are not truncating the education of those students. They'll get the chance. And I'm sure by now the accused is going through some reflections also. Thelma, in as much as he is the accused, and I'm sure by now has admitted that I have harmed somebody to such an extent that is anti-human, I also think he deserves personally. And so I'm also sending the accused some love in his reflections to say that don't do this again. Don't even try. Never again.
The GES and the ministry are saying that they've set up a team of psycho-social counselors to support all the students involved psychologically. So once I'm hearing all the students involved, I would hope that that would include the alleged culprits as well as the victim and any other student who may have been affected. So Deputy Minister for Education, Reverend John Intim Fojo, was in a meeting with the school's management, and he talked about the big numbers of students in secondary schools. He's saying, listen, at every point there's about 1.3 million students, and the school staff sometimes just gets overwhelmed. And so it is not always possible to have an eye everywhere at every single time. But he also admitted that they have to handle this delicately so that the investigation process is not compromised. So he talked about the school he said management is putting stringent systems of supervision in place to improve discipline, and I'm sure that that's comforting to you.
That's very comfortable. I was even coming to that back in my secondary school, you wouldn't know, but we had whistleblowers among us. It will happen, and by the time you realize...
Were they called whistleblowers? They were called chukes.
Well, anyway, so they were called chukes, but I think it was in a very positive light. So the victim in this matter could not have reported, but a chuka in this case could have reported. And then I'm here, it happened almost a month ago. And then until it got viral as this, I'm sure the school was trying to contain it at their level. The victim would not have received the kind of support. The housemaster would not have been relieved of his post, among others. And so as part of the systems, I'm sure that they should consider whistleblowers or chukes. And this should occasion some other reforms, some action. And I'm sure that some very first years and even weaker third years and second years are saying that we are happy about this news. I'm not sure that since this video got viral, there's been any bullying in any school. You know, sometimes when these things come up, it actually brings ease to some of these things in secondary. So I'm sure the students are enjoying their lives and they are learning well.
I mean, hopefully we'll see this to an expected end, and everybody involved will get the help that they deserve. The Speaker of Parliament, and it's one of the stories that I have before me, is saying that, listen, you just because there's a legislation and there's an amendment of the law on the use of cannabis, you cannot use it for recreational purposes. Daily Graphic is carrying the story on page 16, talking about the recent legislation on the use of cannabis and the fact that they did not endorse the recreational use or smoking of the drug. So that gives discretional powers to the Minister for the Interior, Ambrose Derry, to grant licenses for the cultivation of a small quantity of cannabis, popularly referred to as weed in Ghana, for industrial and medicinal purposes. But the Speaker has warned the public that the Act remained in full force, detailing an extensive list of penalties for the unlawful activities associated with the use of cannabis. So other parts of the story talking about the provision underlying the unwavering stance against the illicit use of narcotics while simultaneously recognizing its potential benefits for industrial and medicinal use. So don't smoke weed for recreational purpose. And
so Thelma, so somebody was actually educating me on this and was telling me that there are actually types. And so the type that has been sanctioned is for industrial purposes. But then I was asking that, well, this is regulation. When it comes to enforcement, are we as a country able to actually enforce the type to even be grown and the type to be harvested?
There is a certain number, there's a grade, if I'm not mistaken, that has been approved. Okay. So like you're saying, like there's a certain type of weed that's been approved for medicinal and industrial purposes. So it's not every single one. I hear that there's some very
strong ones.
I think those ones have not.
So Thelma, if someone decides that I'm not even cultivating the approved ones and I'm cultivating others, who is there to check? Right. I know whether it's the FDA. I actually can't tell who is there to check. But then also let's look at how the supply chain will go. So from the farms to, its mobility up until it gets to where to be processed to use for industrial purposes. Are we sure that, Thelma, we have the ribs as a country to even watch that from the farm up until it gets to where to be used for medicinal purposes? I beg your pardon, that's my concern. Do we have that supply chain management resource to ensure that the right standards of this product is grown. I mean, in very right quantities are channeled to our pharmaceutical agencies. And I'm also thinking that, Thelma, don't you think we should actually educate people and sensitize people? Because I've heard that people say, oh, Bianca legalized. I mean, it's legalized. But that was not.
But that's why the speaker is saying it, that don't just say Bianca legalized.
And that's what I'm saying. Tell me, how many?
Don't say that. So there are conditions that have been imposed by the new, the amendment, which mean that you still,
yes,
as has always been the case,
yes,
cannot or are not permitted to.
Yes.
You can, but you're not allowed to by law.
So what I'm saying is that
to do that.
Does the ordinary user, okay, let me use my hometown, I always use them, they won't beat me. Does the ordinary user in session, for example, know that this is the grade that is approved and it is approved for medicinal and industrial purposes? No. For them, they heard somewhere that Ake are legalized. They didn't even hear that Ake are legalized some grade or some types. And so for them, the Ake are legalized. And that's why we are calling for education sensitization. And on this term, I call on community radio stations and other media houses like GBC that transmit in, and thumbs up for the varied language GBC that you transmit in. Some people don't have really appreciation of the English language or other languages that they actually hear other media houses transmit on. So if it is Ghana, I have a better comprehension of, and you tell me in Ghana that noni aka legalize noni oshai koe, then the education is sitting well. People would now make choices as to what to do with it. It is not for recreational purposes. And so I'm sure that from here, this English conversation, you would actually transmit that into the many other local languages that you transmit in.
Now just puts me in a very, nice place to spend 30 seconds to let you know that GBC broadcasts in 25 Ghanaian languages. There's about 50
impressive.
Ghanaian languages. We transmit in 25 Ghanaian languages, aiming to reach the most remotest parts of Ghana, remote parts where other media platforms may not find a viable commercial need to be at. And that is why it is important for you to support us in the drive to raise the required revenues to reach those hard to reach places. There are places in Ghana that do not even get radio or television signals in English. And that is not a problem because we try to encourage everyone to be bilingual. However, if the only information you have access to is information that is not from within your country, if you do not get access to what the public discourse within your country is, what your president is up to, what the vice president is up to, what your parliamentarian, your MPs are up to, what the regular schools and hospitals in your country systems are going through, and the only information that you hear is information from our neighboring countries, you'll be very out of touch with the reality of the Ghanaian situation. And that is why GBC strives to be everywhere in the country and to reach the people with the most needed information. And that's why we ask you to pay the TV license fee. The short code is *447*333#. Help us to reach those communities who do not have access to the channels that you may have access to, so they also have the required information to make informed choices about themselves, their communities, and their families. And we hope that you buy into this idea. 25 local languages. Every day of the week, there's another Ghanaian language on a GBC network. So do try to understand when we make some of these demands of you, and then all of us will be better for it, I think. So thank you for allowing me this 30-second rant. In your homes, TV license is important. Now, so this is a very, very crucial call. This week as well, of course, the controversy surrounding the cash that was found to have been stolen from the home of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah has also been very, very topical. The Ghana Integrity Initiative, which is a CSO, yesterday issued a statement, and in that statement, which we'll be posting on your screen very, very shortly, they are asking for some transparency in the conduct of the investigation. And I'll read that statement to you. So the press release was titled Cecilia Dapaah's Reported Theft Case and Emerging Issues. Nothing short of a comprehensive and transparent investigation is needed. Ghana Integrity Initiative and the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, GACC, are the ones who are speaking here. So the two bodies there, and I'm reading from the release, have followed with keen interest the recent news of the alleged theft of substantial amounts of money and personal effects belonging to Madame Cecilia Abena Dapaah, the Minister of Sanitation, and the husband. The alleged stolen sums of money, $1 million, 300,000 euros, and unspecified millions of Ghana cedis, have sparked serious concerns from the source and the intended use of these funds. Much as we applaud the announced resignation of Honorable Cecilia Dapaah, it seems unconscionable to think of a public officer and a renowned political personality keeping such colossal amounts of money outside of the banking sector. Regrettable as the theft by workers of the Honorable Minister is, questions of the sources of the funds are legitimate and must be investigated by the various competent authorities. This is why the news of Madame Cecilia Dapaah's swift arrest and subsequent investigation by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, must be commended, even as we ask for transparency in the investigation. In addition to our call for a transparent and comprehensive investigation, we also call for an immediate passing of the Conduct of Public Officers Bill to strengthen Ghana's Assets Declaration regime. This bill includes provisions on the amendment of the existing Assets Declaration Act to guarantee a robust Assets Declaration regime. The Conduct of Public Officers Bill has been in front of Cabinet for more than a year without no clear commitment to having it laid before Parliament for consideration and passage. We are also calling for strengthening the Criminal Code Amendment Act, Act 2003, Act 646, to provide for the reverse burden of proof in addressing illicit enrichment. We also call for immediate protection of the two house helps named in the story, since they serve as prime witnesses to the unfolding case. What this case brings to the fore is that the time has come in Ghana for the government to enact laws that will strengthen the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, and other anti-corruption laws to include reverse burden of proof in addressing illicit enrichment. We strongly urge the President to take a decisive action in addressing alleged corruption cases and back his rhetoric on fighting corruption in Ghana by expelling the popular perception of interference in corruption investigations involving persons in his government. So, Ghana Integrity Initiative, GII, and the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, GACC, issued this statement. Now, what are your thoughts?
And so my initial thought is that I've been very sad for Madame Dapaah. The reason is that she's one politician who I haven't personally heard such bad news. I mean, any scandal about her. So the expectation is that maybe she would exit with Akufo-Addo in peace, you know. But hearing this, I've been very sad. But then I also want to applaud her resignation to start with. You know, Thelma, resignations are alien in our part of the world when it comes to politicians. I mean, they'll stay on and on. They can't be bothered about any scandal that bedevils them. And so when I saw the resignation letter, I was like, okay, finally. I mean, we'll make some headway with this. And then the resignation also came to, you know, ease the public outrage, the tempo, you know, of the outroar of Ghanaians. Let me say that, and I mean, people have admitted, not to belabor the point, that we've admitted it's not a crime for her to keep this money in her home, especially if it's for like immediate use.
There are guidelines on how much money how much cash you can carry.
Well, so I haven't heard.
Is there a guideline on how much cash you can keep in your house?
That's what I'm asking, that how much cash? I mean, it's my money. And so what we are bothered about, one, I know, is the source. That is it commensurate with what she earns, whether from public service, whether from her businesses, and has she declared all those assets that, okay, so if I'm getting money from here, I'm getting money from here. I mean, these monies are from these assets. But Thelma, you know, what is more worrying, and I heard somebody pass a comment, and that's why I'm saying this, is that when underprivileged people, let me use the word, when poor people, when disadvantaged people hear that politicians, you see, have such colossal sums of money sitting in their homes, such colossal sums of money sitting in their homes, and these poor, disadvantaged, underprivileged people need just an insignificant fraction of these monies to make life better for them. Maybe it's a school fees of 100 cedis you need and you can't afford. It's a medicine of 200 cedis you need and you can't afford. And you hear such volumes of money and the currencies that have been stated in this scandal. It's a recipe for disaster. Here is why. Listen, Thelma. Then people are thinking that, well, so by all means, I must go into politics to make wealth, even if this wealth is not attributed to politics. But for her political standing, this would not have been an issue if we know her to be just a businesswoman doing her business. But this has become of public concern because we know her to be a politically exposed person. That's what I'm saying, is that these monies make people want to think that I must go into politics at all costs. And that is a recipe for disaster. Now, I was thinking that also for the party that she belongs to, they've been heavy on cashless economy, digitization, all the cashless things about money you can think of. And so when you keep such volumes of money in your home, that's a stab to what you and your government is preaching. You want to tell us that release the money into the system so people can take loans, people can, invest in their businesses, people can do this. But when you actually, let me say hoard, for lack of better expression, you hoard such volumes of dollars and euros and cedis, you are weakening, the economy, you are weakening the cedi, especially when it comes to this foreign denominations. I'm tempted to think that maybe then, like the narrative has been, she doesn't believe in the financial sector. Of course, that her government has cleaned up. And so if it was met in a mess and it's been cleaned up and it is clean per what they preach, then of course you should believe in it and actually invest into it. That is it. And Thelma, to also say that, see, I think that our collective conscience also as a country could not absorb the money. Thelma, the money is, I was like, really? Like this money exists in this country in the home of one person. But it may be her sweat.
It's people have more. The suggestions that people have more.
And Thelma, I was coming to that.
Have also been made over and over again.
People have more. And then Thelma, people less her rank have more of what she's even got. But the thing is that it is still shocking. Thelma, people less the rank of a minister or deputy minister. People the rank, I don't want to mention, technical advisors or whatsoever, they have these monies and they have it and more. What I'm saying is that it makes the ordinary disadvantaged Ghanaian who sleeps on the streets, want to think that, so the only way out is politics and not hard work.
Once a court has not come out to say that the money was, illegally acquired,
yes,
are we not just, putting heat unnecessarily on those who may genuinely be making these amounts of money, and they may have earned the right because they've made the money legitimately?
Yes, so what we are saying is that we are not, for starters, saying that this money that Ms. Dapaah has is born out of corruption or corruption-related activity. That's not what we are saying. That one, personally, I have ruled it out. It may be born out of...
The court has not said so either.
No, that's what I'm saying, that personally, where I sit, I'm thinking that, well, so for where she sits and maybe having to run business, I've heard people say she might have genuinely acquired this money. What for me is the problem is that when we hear that politically exposed persons have such volumes of money seated comfortably, just say, I don't have a place to sleep, but the money has one room to sleep. That's what I'm saying. It makes the ordinary Ghanaian feel that so hard work really doesn't pay. This going and coming doesn't really pay unless you enter into politics. And so people will be bent on entering politics for the sake of, what we see, the optics, what is shown
really
to
what
us.
The investigation is seeking to do is to establish the at least on the OSP side, the suspected corruption. So the OSP is investigating suspected corruption. So it will confirm or deny whether there is a cause for concern with where the money is concerned. But what they need to do that is to prove that there is corruption. GII and GACC are saying we have to amend the laws to reverse that process so that it is not Arake Na has stolen money. So Ara has to prove that Na stole the money. Once an accusation of that sort has been peddled against you,
now it is
on you, or they are asking that it should be on the accused to defend. So in this case, because we are talking about Madame Dapaah specifically, they are asking that if that is done, the burden will no longer be on the OSP to prove that the wealth is illegally obtained, but it will be on Madame Dapaah to prove that the money she has is legitimate and not the other way around. What do you think about that suggestion?
And
I've
I agree.
heard that a lot.
If my memory serves me right, I think when the OSP was being vetted, he actually advocated for that. And so, I mean, if it is my money, I am to prove that, of course, I made this money through. I think it's been long in coming. It's my money, it's my phone, so I should tell you how I got the phone. It's my laptop. This water is in your bag. Or I came to GTV and I was served water. Because the thing is that I may want to, not to say accuse, but let me use the word, accuse Thelma that, oh, this necklace you have on, I think it's not for you. You took it from here. It is now to be on you. Maybe where or who I saw take a certain necklace looks like you. I may not be able to prove. That is where I'm also happy that the fact that I allege that this necklace you are having, you took from here, you don't stand accused. I don't know if you get my point. What I'm saying, the fact is that once I'm alleging that this necklace you have, you stole it from a jewelry shop, doesn't necessarily make you a thief. But in our part of the world, people are scared of to say that it's alleged that she took it from here, or because people don't also have,
because you are innocent until proven guilty.
No, but in a part of the world, it is those of us who are in law school and those who are in law school who even understand that you are innocent until proven guilty. But people who don't even understand anything think that once you are accused, then you have done it. And when you walk in town, you hear public opinion. I mean, people who don't understand some of these things say that, and yes, the minister now say, the minister has done this. But the fact is that it is yet to be established what exactly she has done. But in the court of public opinion, people have just, condemned her to say that, and yes, this can when if you say, and I say. So what I'm saying, the fact is that, so the burden should be on her. And then I'm also worried, well, it may be the wisest thing to do. Why she hasn't told us, of course, she doesn't owe us that, where the source of the money. But I was thinking that in the midst of all this hula baloo, maybe the safest thing to have done is that maybe the source of the money is this. It is not for her to prove to us, maybe to prove to the OSP or to prove to the court. And so we leave it at that. Let me even come to the GII issue on protecting the house held.
Witnesses.
The witnesses.
They call them witnesses.
Okay, so the witnesses, right? The witnesses.
But in the case, in the documents filed at the court, they are alleged to have stolen. So they are alleged thieves.
Okay.
But the GII is calling them prime witnesses to the unfolding case.
And of course they are prime. And then you see, so I was thinking that, so you could just be a complainant, and then very soon you'll be shifted, because Madame Dapaah went to...
The victim's story that you told for the school bullying.
You understand what I mean? So you started, for example, as a complainant, and just within a matter of time, you have to defend, and before you realize you stand accused or whatever the term is. And so for me, they must be protected at all costs. I can't be a witness, you can't.
But how would they know where the money is coming from?
How would
the extent, and I'm using the words contained in the witness, the release of the GII, the prime witnesses to the unfolding case. You're working in someone's house, and something appears, the bottle of water appears in the bedroom, and you steal the water. You don't know where the water is coming from. So I want to understand how they are prime witnesses in this case.
But I can tell you that when I entered the room, I saw 2 bottles of water and I took one. I don't know. It's still me being a witness
It's
testifying that. So when I entered the room, I saw Awake purified drinking water, which I'll continue buying so that an amount can be donated to. I mean, Awake, good morning.
Yes.
so you understand what I'm saying is that they are able to tell that when I entered the room, I saw 3 bottles of water and I took one. I drank half, I put half down. The other time when I went to take, I didn't say the one I left. I saw that 9 more has been added, making 10. And then I took 7, I left 3. So these are things that they could just support the investigation. But then let me also add, not calling for a rush of the processes, but I think that the public is actually vilifying her so much. And the earlier these processes end and whatever will be established is established, the better.
I've also heard suggestions, and I've read some of these things on some social media platforms about how our system can allow a 17-year-old to work. And so it's bringing to the fore these concerns about, those things that affect the rights of a child, so that they affect their access to education, good health, and a good quality of life. But is it not the reality that more and more younger people from underprivileged backgrounds are entering the world of work earlier than the world standard may want us to do?
Indeed, Thelma. And so I'll use a phrase I've always been using. It's a matter of survival. So wherever the lady is coming from, whether coming from north, south, east, and west, they end up in the home of a privileged person. And for me, it is not even about the age or what she does. It may also be that maybe Madame Dapaah brought her in to help her learn a skill. While you learn a skill, whether it's hairdressing, whatever you are learning, you help me at home. And so you are home with me, helping home whilst you learn a skill. Or you are home with me, and then you do whatever you do for me, you keep the house clean and everything, and at the end of the month, I pay you something. The age may be a bother, because of course you should be in school. If she's done with secondary, for me, that is basic, and she's attained that, and she's in the home of the minister, so be it. It doesn't necessarily mean that the place of a house help is not a dignified role. More recently, I had a testimony of a house help say that, well, so somebody, her madam recommended her to another to say that she's been good to me and this and that, and somebody has flown her to the UK for good reason. So it's not like it's not all bad. It's not all bad. There may be, there are house help who may even be better than people working in white collar jobs. What I'm saying is that if at the end of the day she's there, and while she's there, value is being added to her, I don't have a problem at all with her age, with whatever. Once she's there and value is being added to her, I think I'm okay.
We've unpacked a lot at this table this morning. What are your thoughts on what we've spoken about since we started this headline segment? 05555610034. I'm going to scoot over to the screen and get some of your messages. But now, are you concerned, as I am, that millions of people are not getting antiretroviral treatment because of stigma? I mean, for 30 plus years, we've campaigned massively on, HIV awareness, which have always included a footnote or a footnote talking about do not stigmatize, and still we face that problem. What are your thoughts on that?
And so, Thelma, I don't know whether I don't know really whether this stigma should be criminalized. Thelma, you see, stigma is a bad thing. It's so bad that it can be so depressing, and sometimes I don't know, people should be in the shoes of others to have an appreciation of what they say they go through. And let me say this on behalf of PPAG, good morning. That Thelma, see, for every facility you go, and so Thelma, maybe come clear on this. Is it the service provider that's stigmatizing? Because of course, if you are going for the antiretroviral drug, you are going to a service provider to give it to you. And so for me, if it is not the service provider who is giving me my drug that is stigmatizing me, if it is a service provider, we can actually, bring charges against the service provider. Because of course, Ghana Health Service Patient Charter, your own, what you have signed, confidentiality, non-discriminatory policies that you have signed to, does not warrant you as the, so if it is not the service provider, but if it is, maybe let us hear the story.
So the final newspaper on page 6 talks about 9.24 million HIV persons not getting on treatment due to stigma. Story says out of the number, some 700,000 are children. So the story goes on to say, within the sub-region, HIV continues to impact the lives of millions, with 4.8 million persons living with HIV, including 160,000 new HIV infections and 120,000 AIDS-related deaths at the end of 2022. So there's another suggestion that, oh, now HIV does not kill anymore. The figures are telling us that even last year, 120,000 people died of AIDS-related deaths. So the prevalence of HIV in the general population in the ECOWAS region is relatively low at 0.3%. And so the regional advisor for the United Nations program, Madame Helen Ndime, was saying this at the regional consultative meeting on HIV-related stigma reduction in the ECOWAS. So we are saying that the sub-region is still far from achieving the UN target of only 10% of people living with HIV experiencing discrimination. So the goal is to get only 10% of people experience discrimination. But the data, according to her, shows that discrimination is about 6 times higher than the 2030 target. HIV-related stigma and discrimination are often compounded by marginalization, criminalization, and exclusion based on factors like HIV status, health conditions, gender, age, socioeconomic conditions, and others. And they said it's led to a situation where persons who are HIV positive are about 2.5 times less likely to seek care until it is too late. 2.5 times less likely to seek care.
And so, Thelma, what I'll say is that if it is not the service, what you need are your drugs, right? So if it's not the service provider, feel free, go into the facility, get your drugs and take them. If the stigma is coming from whether relatives, whether friends, whether office folks, I'm sure they are reporting channels. Because you see, at PPH, we have a non-discriminatory policy, even at our facilities and in our offices. And so if you feel discriminated against, that I deserve this promotion, I didn't get because of my status, I was supposed to do this, be on a team with a friend, says I won't work with you because of your status, they are reporting channels. And so I'll just encourage persons living with HIV.
The statistics tell us, or the statistics suggest to us, that perhaps even in our workplaces, there are people who work with us who are HIV positive. I may be HIV positive and you may.
But I won't say,
but because of stigmatization, I will not come to work and tell Valerie or Kafri or Maltiti or Alan or any of the numbers who work behind the scenes that guess what, I'm HIV positive, because I'm afraid. What if this ends in the wrong ear and then everyone starts giving me even more attitude than I perhaps already get? Then that is the problem, because if you can't say it to the people who you work closely with, if you can't say it to your family members, then how do you even become bold or brave enough to go to the health center? But
then that is where even those who actually may perpetuate the stigma are even putting their lives in danger. You see, Thelma, somebody may voluntarily walk in, and now with the self-test kit that has come up, was a voluntarily I want to test, and you know your status, okay? Now I have to be on medication. It would take me knowing my status and being on medication to encourage Thelma that I did this. I think you should also check your status. So me telling you is not for you to stigmatize me. When we do that, people will. Well, but it is not for anybody also to know.
Exactly. So people, there's a confidentiality aspect of it.
It is not for people to know.
So sometimes when people are not well, and every office has a different system, right? Some people have just, given health insurance, and so you just go to the hospital and whatever it is, the insurance takes care of it. Other people have to bring receipts and coupons back to claim what they've spent on their medicals. And in some of these instances, these documents state clearly that Thelma sought treatment for example, my mom knows this is no. Thelma sought treatment for HIV. Thelma sought treatment for complications of this. And these are personal things people may not want others to know. It feeds into the discrimination thing we are talking about, that you are afraid that people will find out that clinic
you went because of this,
because you had this condition.
But Thelma, I mean, I had a quote somewhere that there's a difference between a human being and being human. there are people who are just human beings. And there's a different, that is different from being human. I mean, let's be human.
Let me scoot over and read some more.
Let's be human, and let's show empathy. I mean, treat people how, put yourself in people's shoes. And sometimes people hear those stories. What pisses me off is that they add on. They don't share exactly what they even saw or heard. They add on and say that, and I heard this, and they... Thelma, let's go for messages.
Sometimes it's our neighbors.
I know, right?
Who share the story.
I know, right?
They said this person came to, and you know, it keeps going on. So our neighbors can be our work neighbors as well. So here is the opportunity for you to share your thoughts with us. Our WhatsApp number 0555561034. Mahamaba talking about a cover-up or better damage control, asking the question, is it not a cover-up or better damage control? I don't really trust the process. Contacting her relatives for what? When she was coming into office, what were her assets declaration, GRA returns, bank statement over the money? This no be family matter. You don't pay nurses and doctors well, and you still want them to stay in this country while one Cecilia Dapa has all this money in her house. And like we keep saying, the court has not established that this money was illegally acquired. So let's be temperate in our analysis of the issue, not just this issue, all other issues that are before courts. Good morning, Thelma. I enjoy listening to now, but I've stated before that we should draw a line between bullying and homoing. So he's talking about the situation. What now was talking about was homoing, when Form 1 students are made to dress weirdly, made to dance and all sorts of performance just for entertainment. We can't compare that to what happened in a disco. That is assault and must be treated as such. My experience in '93, I was put in a trunk for about 90 seconds because I was petite, and my seniors argued that I can fit in my trunk, and just to confirm, they did it, and I truly fitted in the trunk. Oh, Fred, I'm so sorry about that. Charlie, the things people have done to people in secondary school, say. My question is, what code of conduct and guidelines should now be given to house girls in view of the ongoing case in the minister's house? A code of conduct. I believe that every contract needs to come with some terms and conditions. And so if you are engaging the services of someone, there has to be a contract which states clearly what each party is supposed to do. That's what you do when you are renting.
No, but this is in the case of the house girls. And there's always
an employment contract.
Thelma, at 17 years or 18, do you have even the power of bargain? You don't. Not even the monetary, not even the chores, not even what you are put to. You just come and they say, yes, Amasa. 17 years. What
usually happens is someone agrees to bring this younger person. That's what usually happens. Someone leads, someone fronts it. So if we are saying that for some of these people, like you were saying, they've completed some level of education, there are difficulties, and they are giving this in exchange for a skill to be paid for them to benefit from, then all those should perhaps be stated in some kind of letter which someone with a legal right to agree or to represent you as a ward, as a guardian or whatever is able to do that. Perhaps that's what we should look into. Maybe. Does the law allow for some of these things to happen? And so thank you for sending that message to us. Opeyin is joining. Good morning. I want to ask Ghanaians, we haven't talked about some politics here. There's some politics in the papers. I'll get to it perhaps before we wrap. Good morning, Thelma. Same to you now. Could this issue of Madame Dapa trigger the law to search our ministers' homes? We'll put that to a lawyer and see if that is possible. Thelma, back in our days, about 25 years ago, some seniors pulled a water heater under the armpit of a junior in the name of testing his temperature. Wow. A very sad way of bullying. And going on to say, even legitimately made money, especially FCs, have some trace in the financial system as transactions, even as low as 1,000 USD is reported per the Bank of Ghana and the financial AML guidance. So some perspectives there for us to digest. I would not have cared if Cecilia Abena Dapa was not a politician, and for that matter, a cabinet minister, and that's the point that Na has also raised. The guy should be made to face the same assault. An eye for an eye leaves the nation blind, is what some say. Good morning. I really like your show. Keep doing great. You're really looking great in your outfit today. I'm sure it's not. The red.
No, it is you, ready. Lady T, is you, not me.
The red is ready. So thank you for sending your messages across to us. And then I'll take the final comments from now, and then we'll make our way out to allow for a conversation on the happenings that we've seen recently. Now, I told you about this other video that I've come across.
Yes. The one where the teacher beats the students.
And if that video is on, I'm sure that we'll be sharing it now. It is because of these and other reasons that we think that this next conversation is very, very crucial. We are seeing a teacher who is alleged to be beating the boy because he did not pay extra classes fee. Extra classes fee. Because of free education, you know, there's always no tuition to be paid. Only authorized levies are being imposed on parents. And in many of these instances, teachers have been queried for even charging some of these levies. But somebody beat this boy and got him in this state.
Wow.
A teacher.
Wow.
A teacher. So when we talk about bullying in schools, it's not just student-to-student bullying. Sometimes it's teacher to student, because this is, and the law people will come at us and say it's assault, so it's an infringement on the rights of the child seeking an education. I can't even begin to count the number of people who have pulled out of school because the teacher beat them up. My cousin dropped out of school in class 5 because she was told that class 6 teacher is you. She never went back.
She never wanted to go to that class 6.
Would lash you. So she never went back to school after class 5. But we are seeing this more and more. Kafui will be sitting with some experts to look into the situation of bullying in school. We'll be wanting to hear what your experiences have been. So start sharing them with us right now. Our WhatsApp number is 055-5561-034. Bullying in school, what has been your experience? That's coming up in the next segment. Now, your take on this and perhaps your last comment.
And so, Thelma, is it about extra classes? And how much is that? So if it's extra classes like 5 cedis or 3 cedis and you have to assault somebody's ward like this? And Thelma, I don't know who... I thought corporal punishment like that have been abolished in schools.
Yes.
So where from the cane and who sanctioned it, for example? I was just looking. So when he was being caned, you know, sometimes I've heard students say that if you don't behave like the cane, you understand, like it's painful, the teacher will not stop. But after he got, you know, half naked and I saw the back, I was like, this for 5 Ghana cedi extra tuition fee. But I thought extra tuition fee should not also be compulsory, because per the standards of the Ghana Education Service, school starts at 8 and ends at 2, and I have closed. Extra classes.
But extra classes has now increasingly become part and parcel of the school curriculum. So it almost continues. You can't leave the class for many schools because it's become normal for the extra classes to be there. I'll take your final word so that the experts can actually
my final words are that I'm so disappointed. But from here, I'm off to Sunlodge Hotel at Tesano. The Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. We are looking at an employment equity plan for persons living with disability, how we will be able to actually absorb them into our working space or give them skill training for them to actually be economically empowered. So we are finalizing that document today. I mean, the media is invited. And to say that from there, the hope is that people living with disability, persons living with disability would be absorbed, would be economically empowered, and Ghana will be a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Atre Nyoko is a communication expert joining our table. Cozy, so sorry that you couldn't make it. We understand that you had some challenges, and we hope to have you back here real soon. Birthday blessings to you, Mrs. Felicia Aveji, from all your children and loved ones. So they are saying a message to you: you shall surely see the goodness of the Lord, and they want to ask that God richly blesses you. This is Breakfast Live on GTV. I'm Thelma Taki. The next segment, of course, talking about bullying. 055-5561-034.
Tell Thelma that.
I'll take her to lunch today. How are you? I'm very well. Thank you. Derek, good morning to you, and thank you for me. They don't promise me food, though. So I'll come for you. This is Breakfast on GTV. We'll be back after the break.